This is not a Diet Coke, and I'm very disappointed in that. Diet Coke is just better. Coke Zero is just not, it doesn't hit the same as the Diet Coke, you know? Hello and welcome to the first viewing. So, I have loved Gojira for years, and I absolutely love the original Gojira film. So when I found out that there was a Toho-produced Japanese Gojira that came from Japan in 2016, I was obviously incredibly excited about it, and the trailer for it made me even more excited about it. And yesterday, after having this Blu-ray for a few weeks now, I was finally able to see this film, and it does not disappoint at all. I honestly believe that this is the first truly Gojira film since 1954. One of the first things I notice about this film is that it is visually incredible with very unique cinematography and very brilliant set design. The way the coloring and the set design mix together really allows it to feel just like rural Japan, but still look very vibrant and colorful in a way that a lot of dark films, especially today, don't seem to realize. You can have dark subject matter and still have brilliant looking, vibrant, colorful shots. And of course the cinematography helps this film stand out so much with some really brilliant and interesting uses of close-ups and angles and subjective POVs every now and then. One thing you absolutely cannot accuse this film of is looking bad. This film's music is also incredible, especially when they use the themes from the original film, but even this film's original score are really incredible. All of the music really matches the tone, and it helps make the film so much more intense. The writing in this film is incredible. They clearly know exactly how to build tension, and it gets to a point where at the very end of the film, I was genuinely not sure if they were actually going to successfully stop Gojira, or if the entire country would be destroyed. Also, Gojira himself in this film was really interesting and really cool. Having him go through multiple forms and evolutions throughout the film is really awesome, and it's also really Japanese. Some of his new abilities are a bit ridiculous, but it's just so freaking fun. His first evolution is definitely a bit stupid looking, but it's also really scary, and he definitely looks like an earlier version of the Gojira you see later on in the film. The second time he shows up, however, is not disappointing at all. In fact, you can definitely compare it to the Tokyo scene from the original Gojira film. They just throw everything they have into that scene. The monster looks incredible and terrifying. The destruction to the city is realistic and awesome, and the way that the military operates around the situation is so formulated, calculated, and it looks incredible. It makes everything so much more intense. You can very clearly understand when it's going right and when it's going wrong. And that scene is also followed up brilliantly with an incredibly emotional and powerful scene from Yaguchi. I also love that outside that scene, the film is relatively conservative with its use of the monster. They do not overindulge in it at all. They show it exactly the right amount without going too overboard, but also not holding back too much. The monster attack scenes in the film are really heavily focused on the impact of the people on the ground, and the film itself overall really focuses heavily on the human effect of this and on the significant importance of the individual human life, just like in the original film. The CGI in this film is pretty much a 50-50. It tends to look really good in the nighttime scenes with the monster, and it also can look really great in some of the shots where he's still or he's moving very subtly. Also, most of the wide shots with the monster look really real. It all feels very tactile and it looks very real. However, a lot of the motion in the action scenes can look really lame, especially at the midpoint of the film where he starts burning an entire city. It all looks incredibly fake. Unlike pretty much any other Gojira film before, this film is primarily focused on the political aspects of it, the bureaucracy and government and the international governments involved in this situation. The political side of things in this film can be a bit difficult to follow, especially for someone like me who isn't from Japan, where you're talking about an entire government system that I really don't know anything about, but all the bigger, more important aspects are pretty easy to pick up on. That focus on the political side of things really helps you understand Yaguchi's frustration with the democracy and the bureaucracy, with how slow it takes them to respond to this issue. It's really unique, at least in a Western film, to focus this much on the politics side of a giant monster attack, but that really helps give this film an extra layer of depth that most Gojira films and most giant monster films in general original don't have. And to be honest, a lot of the political scenes in the film are really reminiscent of Death Note, at least with the actual look of them. All of that political drama is something that's really interesting and something that you can definitely really get into a lot like in the original film. I wasn't just sitting waiting for the monster to show up, I was incredibly invested in the way that they were representing Yaguchi's frustration with the political mess that Japan is in. This film really focuses a lot on Japan's honor and integrity as a nation, especially focusing heavily on this idea of post-war Japan, as well as the way most of the world seems to view Japan as America's child, like they're too immature to take care of these problems on their own. It really makes you feel the insult of the rest of the world suggesting dropping a nuclear bomb on Tokyo. Modern Japan was effectively built from the destruction of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and Gojira was built from Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And the film constantly reminds you of that to make you really understand how horrible of a suggestion this is. It's something that's honestly a bit difficult for people like me who aren't from Japan to understand, because Japan is the only country that's ever had nuclear weapons used against them. It's the only country with a culture that's effectively built out of that. So we really can't possibly understand the state that this sort of situation would put them in. But this film does an incredible job of at least trying to show some of that. In this film, the very core values of Japan as a nation are at the center. Things like honor, dignity, independence, and unlike in the original film where it was primarily about whether or not the monster should be killed, this film is primarily about Japan working together to defeat the monster on their own without the help of the United States. Yaguchi is a really incredible protagonist who really embodies this idea of Japan struggling for independence and for dignity. He was an absolutely key part of bringing this whole idea to life. I mean, I absolutely love Japan, and nationalism is something really important to me and really close to my heart, so it's really difficult for me not to identify with that character. Gojira is a Japanese story meant to reflect the nation at whatever point they're in, and he was originally created to represent the nuclear threat, and in this film he's used to represent their national pride and dignity. That's why I think this film is so much better than any American version of Gojira ever has or ever could be. The film really tackles Japan's core values as a nation to be independent by coming together and working hard as a people. It's such an incredibly beautiful story and a beautiful message. This film is definitely not something to watch casually. It's a bit exhausting and it's definitely something that takes a lot out of you, but it is 100% worth it because it is such an incredible film. I cannot possibly recommend this film more. It is so incredible and it is 100% on par with the original. Thank you all for watching this installment of the first viewing. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, maybe even subscribe. Thank you all again for watching, and have a nice day.